So, last we left off in this campaign, the Inexorables, our whole party kind of got introduced to the concept of this organization and had short discussions with either each other, in the case of Rikus and Leopold, or with NPCs who came and approached them about joining this organization. And everybody here got invited to a little dinner dash happening this evening. And in the tower of the High Professor Lycus Aranen, Professor of Transmutation, at the Academy of Dusk. So, that is where we begin. I'm gonna consider things here. Which of you guys believes yourselves to be punctual, and which one of you would absolutely be late?
Punctual.
I was gonna say, the Shade Hollow brothers would absolutely be pretty punctual. Rikus would probably be there like 2 hours early to discuss some things with people there and help prepare.
I believe I did say last time I was planning on being early.
Yeah.
As well. I don't know how early.
Last time I was planning on being late.
Yeah. Lennon, the closest in proximity to the tower, will also likely be the latest. And, Lennon, I do not know if you have notes of the information I gave you last session that you got throughout the afternoon. You do? All right. Well, you will be
You're
regurgitating
talking about
that.
the best note taker of all time. So
I think that Leopold would be the type to get there like exactly on the dot.
Yeah, I feel like Leopold would be. However, I will say, none of you guys can beat one of Logan's players. His name is Josh, and he absolutely is the best note taker ever. He's got one ginormous document that he has perfectly linked every session to the click of a button, and also keeps track of a lot of things through Excel spreadsheets. He's absolutely the best note taker we've ever seen.
I'm curious that you got an account.
hold on, Shoddy, Zach Henson. Didn't you have an Excel spreadsheet you were using for my old campaign? You did it for combat.
Oh no, just those were hand typed notes.
Okay, never mind. Oh, that's right. You're a computer science engineer. You don't need something like Excel. You just make your own Excel.
Yeah.
Compsci gang represent.
Go.
All right.
Anyways,
Yeah. So, as we enter in, Rikus, I'm going to say that you're honestly probably already there. You're probably already up in the tower waiting, unless you want to be somewhere else.
Well, the only other thing that I was doing was I had stopped by the library and then I'd stopped by my apartment to kind of grab a little bit more of my gear in case we had to be leaving quickly. But I probably went up there, small talked with the other guys up there in the tower, and then yeah.
Okay. So
I would be there for the
Okay. So as we're gonna start with Sakir, as you are the other early arriver. As you step up to this Academy of Dusk, which you've certainly seen multiple times, you've maybe even gone into it once or twice at this point, but never seeing like the true majesty of this place. It's 9 spiraling towers for the 9 schools of magic that it teaches. And as you step through the front gate, as it is a public area for the main hall, as you step in, there is just people of all ages. Mostly in the youth to young adult section of all races. A couple 100-year-old elves are there, but also, a 7-year-old goblin runs by, and he's probably, lifespan-wise, one of the oldest here. And just looking about, everyone here has some magical potential. And as you're looking out and seeing this, that's a lot of blood. Lot of blood. But as you step through, immediately clocked a probably 16, 17-year-old a human boy, dark jet black hair, with fairly bright blue eyes, steps over to you, and kind of says, "Hello, my name is Harry Harrington. I am the teacher's assistant and associate / steward of Lycosaranen. You are Sakir Anadeus, correct?"
That is correct.
All right, it is just this way. It's a bit of a walk, and a lot of stairs, but it's over this way. And seemingly awkwardly, not necessarily sure how to present himself to you, kind of begins leading you through some hallways and then up a set of stairs, and it's a lot of stairs. You might end up being a little bit winded by the time you get to the top of these stairs, as this set of large double doors is already propped open, and he just kind of waves you forward.
Constitution saving throw.
As you see, right now, there are 4 figures in there. One who is wearing, your general archmage clothing that you would assume to be Lycus Aranin. There's another one that's a half-orc that you don't really recognize. Along with, you do recognize Pax, as he is a little bit taller and thicker and broader than the rest of the people there. Pax Olamis seemingly was able to make it this evening. And beside them, you see someone that you have not seen in quite a while. You see your brother. It's a little bit still shocking. What do you do as you step in the room?
First of all, in seeing these people in the room, reading the formal situation, I will carefully remove the dagger that I have, this ornate dagger that is from our homelands in the Shadowfell. I'm gonna go up to Rikus and a greeting that the tribes have.
What? Wait, what? Sorry, you have to repeat that. James is talking.
No problem. A greeting that we have Rikus in the Shadowfell when 2 tribes meet, especially when they're about to have an exchange of some sort. They approach each other with some frontline men to just say peace to each other, to know what they come in. And so I'm going to go up to you, and with my dagger, I am going to take it out in front of me, and with that gesture, sheath it in front of you, and say Ryan, which is peace in Elvish.
I'm going to punch him as soon as he bows his head.
Okay, so...
Not super hard, but I'm going to punch him.
So as you step forward, and slight courtesy as you pull the blade and say your greeting, as you're sheathing the blade, just a right hook, not a very strong one, but just hits your cheek, almost making you stumble to the ground as you kind of look back up, probably not too happy with that.
And immediately...
It was enough to push me over a little?
A little. Just a little.
Alright, if you're doing something immediately, go ahead.
Yes, and immediately, Rikus is just gonna yell at him, "And where the fuck have you been?"
You get tackled. If you're doing anything, if you're just talking.
Okay, go ahead and roll an athletics for me. Athletics check for me, Jade.
Absolutely. +8.
Do I need a... Oh, you have a +8 athletics. Oh no.
Yeah, I only rolled a 12 though.
Okay, so almost like you don't really mean true violence against your brother charging out. Your shoulder hits him, but he almost catches you and wraps his arms around your stomach, and then what do you do, Thomas? Are you trying to continue this altercation or calm it?
I mean, I'll play along a little bit with this wrestle. Since I've kind of got him. You said I have his shoulder and...
He dove in trying to tackle your stomach, and you were able to hold your footing.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to compete against him with the wrestling.
Okay, I would like you both to roll just flat athletics checks again.
Athletics?
Oh shoot!
Why don't I just
I
roll
rolled
flat
acrobatics
strength?
last time.
Yes, you did.
I
That's
apologize.
fine. We
You
continue.
asshole.
Okay.
I mean, it still
Anyways.
wasn't a good roll. It wasn't that
And I
great.
get advantage with athletics, so it's still kind of good. So that's a 10, and then
Oh god.
11.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, A is only for a hybrid transformation. Okay, so I only have the +1, so I rolled an 11. I
Yeah, yeah, barely. By 5, but pretty mediocre rolls still. So as you guys are both going, Secure, having his arms around your waist, picks Rikus up almost as though he's about to slam him, and as he pushes towards the ground, you both freeze, dead in the air. As the half-orc mage sitting beside seems to have cast some spell to hold you guys. Pax comes over. Enough! And grabs you both by like the scruff of your neck and actively pulls you apart, seemingly ending the spell as he does, holding you both just off your feet, dropping you on opposite sides with his like 8-foot wingspan. And just looks to you specifically, Secure.
He started it. I'm panting, but like immediately like childlike excuse.
Pax turns to Rikus.
Yeah, Rikus just coughs and says, "There's some brotherly banter, Pax. Don't pay too much mind to it." And he coughs again and says, "As I was saying."
Interrupts you.
Where the
I haven't seen you in years, and the first thing you do is punch me in the face. I was literally trying to offer you peace. Like,
Where have you been? They dropped the sanctions on deserters 6 years ago.
Yes, and I was finding my own life, doing my own... I have my own issues. I came to you with them years ago, and what did you do? You sent me away. You had no intention of staying in touch with me. Well, I guess that changed because sometime the last couple of years, you started spying on my every move.
You broke military law, and I'm a military cop. What did you think I had to do?
You could have stayed in touch with your own brother.
Well, I kind of did in my own way. But I knew at least you were alive, and I trusted that, well...
You could have reached out. You put forth the effort to go and have spies on me and to know where I was. Good job. Couldn't come to me face to face, could you?
No, it's called I Have a Job.
And so did I. That didn't stop me the first time. In fact, I had troubles the first time. I fixed them on my own. Thank you very much.
Well, either way.
We're working as a team now. Yes, I know what you're going to say. Let's get on with
I
it.
will say, it is good to see you, brother. And he looks him over and he looks at his bald head and goes, I was about to say something else. He's like, sorry, I'm wrestling with a kid here.
No problem.
Physically. Anyways, he says, bald head, that's, I guess that's a new one. He didn't like our father's hair.
I stopped growing it. That's a long story, though.
Well, I've always had better looks than you, so it doesn't matter anyways.
All looks and over. Alright, what else? What's next? What do you have?
I
for me?
believe we are waiting on the rest of our, new comrades.
The half orc.
And I'll let you go, Zach.
The half orc seemingly speaks up. We are waiting for the rest of your new companions to join us. We anticipate that at least one or two of them will be slightly late. One of them will be bringing an extra report along with the one that we shall be giving. It is good to meet you, Sakir. I am Evethar Eparium.
Evethar. Pleased to meet you as well.
Yes. What are you looking at, Nate?
Did you say his name is Everhard?
Evethar.
Your ears! They hear whatever they want to hear.
We will now call him Everhard. We'll blame
He is the Iron Rod!
You could say he has an immovable rod.
Yes.
As we're waiting, Rikus will fill Secure in on some brief descriptions of the rest of the party.
Okay. The last member of this room that you do not know, who is wearing the blue mage's robes, steps over to you, and you, deduction, you can guess that this is Lycus Aranon, the person whose name was on the invitations, but he steps over and introduces himself regardless, and says, "It is a fine evening to finally meet the younger brother of Rikus. I have not worked with Rikus too incredibly much, but if you have half the skill he seems to portray you to have, you will be a very good addition to the team."
Thank you. I'm sorry that was your first impression of me. I'll make it up to you in the future.
I entirely anticipated, considering who Rikus is, that there would be some form of physical altercation.
Rikus,
I half intended to prepare a wrestling mat.
Rikus, kind of looking at Secure more, he looks up and down at him. He goes, "Did you grow taller?"
I think you got shorter.
He just shrugs it. He's just like, whatever.
So, as this banter continues and some servants, some unseen servants, seem to be bringing food in and setting up a table, Secure, you notice that this is a pretty lavish meal. Like, this is a 5-star Michelin restaurant type meal. And as you see that being prepared, Leopold, after a bit of a rousing afternoon with your two closest friends, you find your way to the base of the Academy of Dusk. Harry Harrington has ran back down the stairs to keep watch for another one of the members, and is got a bead of sweat coming down his brow. He is well dressed, but he is very much like in sagely clothes. It's robes, dark gray, as he kind of steps up to you and gives a slight courtesy, as would befit your rank in a noble house, and says, "Leopold L. Noxdon, it is a pleasure to meet you. I am the teacher's assistant / ward / steward of the Professor Lycus Aranon. If you would follow me, I can lead you to the place where the meeting is."
A pleasure to meet you as well, though it's pronounced Lenot Down.
Lenot Down? I will make sure to make appropriate notes. And you see him almost like physically concentrating on something. Your guess would be he is actively casting the sending spell up to Lycus to correct his pronunciation of it. And you said Lenot Down, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So he leads you up the stairs, up the spiral case, and points into this large room where there is a whole bunch of floating unseen servants that are moving platters of meat and vegetables and fruits. There's a few large casks of different meads and wines and whiskeys, all lined across the back end. And actually, as you're beginning to go up the stairs, someone seems to be stepping behind you and follows you up the stairs, up till when you reach the top, he kind of touches your shoulder behind you and says, "Hello, I am Ernest Valkenton. And you are?"
Sorry, just noting that guy's name down. Leopold.
Leopold L. Lenotdon, yes?
Correct. And who might you be to know the name?
You would know the Valkenton name. The Valkenton name is the Liege Lords of Revedan. So, as you kind of note, I am a high sage and arcanist of the Azure Sky Libraries. And that is all that is important here.
Well, in that case, I would like to extend my hand to the man and say that, well, it's a pleasure to meet somebody of your caliber.
Yes, it is appreciated to meet someone of yours as well. I have heard of some of your experimentations. They are quite intriguing. However, I think it is quite important for you to meet some of your new acquaintances.
Of course.
It is both of the dark gray-skinned. They are brothers.
Yes,
I'm curious.
Yes, I've met Rikus, though I haven't ever heard him speak of a brother. And also, I would like to make one comment and ask a question to the DM.
Okay.
So, question, Zach. Did we happen to walk past a certain dormitory, if you are picking up what I'm putting down, whenever we walked through the campus?
Sure. Yeah, you would have walked by some dormitories on your way up here.
There's the one specific one that I'm curious about.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out why specifically you're curious about this.
Okay, admittedly, this might have just been an offhand comment during character creation, but I believe my father did, make a substantial donation, and
yes,
I remember that it was the dormitory.
Yes, it was for one of the dormitories. And you did notice, it was a building set off on its own that did have the tower and tree of the Lenotdon.
Okay. And it was not down, actually. But the comment I was going to make was that at this point, considering he has been out for a little bit, he made sure not to go too deep into his cups. But if you get close enough to Leopold, you can definitely tell that he's been around alcohol for a little bit. But at the same time, he's also not drunk.
Yeah.
But quick comments and such aside, I will go ahead and approach the two drow and see what they are up to.
So as you approach, what you assume to be drow in this case, as they are elven in feature and darker of skin, you approach them and they seem to be having some small talk discussion with Evithar, as Evithar kind of turns and beckons you to step into the conversation. Says, "Leopold, correct?"
Correct, and well, I met Rikus earlier today, and I don't believe I have met you, as he points to Sakir. He extends a hand. Leopold.
A little bit more graceful than his brother in terms of these things, but definitely just as unlearned. He stretches out his hand and says, "Yes, I am Sakir Anadeus. Pleasure to meet you."
So, I never knew you had a brother, Rikus.
Rikus just holds his mouth open for a moment and is like,
He didn't, did he? How well do you know each other?
Evithar steps in, kind of saving him. "Not very. Rikus merely went and met him this afternoon. They may have known each other in passing beforehand, but they have only had one discussion."
Yes.
Okay.
Still, if it's a, shall we say, interesting family matter, I don't need to pry.
"Oh, it's no mind. Yes, I do have a brother. Albeit estranged up to this point."
We're both estranged, Rikus. We just estranged ourselves from each other as well.
Evithar says, "Yes, you all are quite strange in and of your own rights. However,
Rikus kind of nods his head and goes, yeah.
However, the the strangest of your companions should be arriving here soon. And we're going to turn back down to the base where Harry has, again, sprinted down the stairs.
Let's go, Harry.
To find a astral elf trotting up on a bugbear's back. Harry, wide-eyed and shocked, and a lot of the children just inside as you step in are pointing and laughing. Periwinkle does not seem very happy that you have brought him into this situation. And Harry swiftly runs up to you and says, hello, I am Harry Harrington, the steward / ward / teacher's assistant of Lycosarinen, and all steeds must be kept outside.
I just sigh heavily, and I go, very well. Periwinkle, you may go. I will see you in the morning.
Periwinkle kind of does a deep bow as he just backs out of the room and doesn't seem to leave the deep bow until you've turned your head, and he just turns and starts jogging home. So Harry begins to lead you up the spiral staircase all the way up, and as you guys are stepping out, a shoddily dressed in like archivist's robes, stepping out from seeming like a basement room, you see an Air Genasi who is just completely disheveled with a stack of books in his arms, who kind of steps out. Harry immediately clocks him and says, Linen?
Oh, sorry, I'm late. I'm sorry. I was talking so. Yes.
In terms of proximity, you were clearly the closest.
There was a lot of research to do. I had to check materials. I had to references.
Linen, was it fruitful?
Yeah, of course. I have.
All right.
I have information. I found some information.
That will be for after the dinner. This is Wayne Rex. He will be one of the members of this new established party.
Oh, of course. He'll kind of shift his books like off to one arm, and he'll extend a hand. Hello, Sir Rex. My name is Linen Weave. I'm a researcher here at the academy, and I will be joining you on this expedition, in this party.
Pleasure to meet you. Though I can't say I'm too familiar with exactly what you're talking about, as don't have that much information on exactly why I've been summoned here quite yet. But free dinner's free dinner, am I right?
Of course, anything to save a bit of money. It's easier on my wallet, that's for sure.
Exactly. Well, shall we get?
Of course. You said the guy's name is Harry.
Harry. Just Harry.
Harry, which room are we to go to again? I would fish it out of the documents, but it's buried under one of these books somewhere.
That is all right, Linen. It is in the high class room of Lycosarinen. As I'm sure Ernest told you earlier today, but I understand. I will still lead you guys up there. And he begins to lead you guys up until, as you guys step in, probably at this point about 5, maybe 10 minutes late, you guys kind of step in, and this vast room, completely cleared of any teaching equipment at this point, there is a large round table, which sat there. Ernest and Lycus seem to be sat there discussing, while seemingly everyone else is just doing small talk. And as you guys step in, Pax kind of turns over who's standing. He just has the largest, goblet of mead just sitting in the corner and just guzzling it. He kind of looks out and points, "The rest are here." And everyone kind of turns, looking specifically at you two as you step in.
Just gonna take my cigar in my left hand, take my hat in my right, do a deep bow, and go, Wayne, Casaurus Rex. Pleasure to meet y'all. Now, where's the free food?
The free food is sprawled across the table. It's not a you think of it and it's there, but if it's been thought of, it's probably on the table. There's all different types of breads, fruits, vegetables, meats, smoked, grilled, all different types of food just sitting at the table with large drink lines. This is a feast for 20 people, and there's probably going to be less than 10 in the room.
Lennon, seeing Wayne introduce himself, he'll kind of eye him as like, and he'll very awkwardly put up a hand. It's like, Lennon Weave here to give my report. And he'll kind of just try and shuffle off into a corner, try and find a table that doesn't have food to like set all these books down.
There is like a stool or like bar off to the side that you can kind of like set all the books down and begin organizing your notes. As Lycus steps over to you, Lennon, and says, "Lennon, were we successful this afternoon?"
Of course, sir. Of course. I have information. I can. I'll set up a board immediately and organize my notes a bit better than I did when I was presenting in my thesis.
That is no problem. Make sure to eat some as well. I know you don't eat much when you're nervous, but your presentation will be after. I will give the baseline of the case files and the second case, which you did not yet know of, and then any information you can provide us about the beast that you were able to find. That will be
Of
your
course.
time.
Of course. And he'll kind of like scan the room, and Lennon will try and find the next best person to talk to that doesn't look too difficult.
Well, Ernest is there.
Right.
However,
Rikus is already standing at your other side, just scanning the table of notes and kind of looking over them.
Lennon will like awkwardly extend his hand. Lennon Weave, sir. Nice to meet you.
Rikus Enideus, and he extends his hand as well.
Shit.
I gather you're the one who's coming with the report on new information.
Yes, sir. Spent all afternoon researching it. I found a couple of interesting tidbits, interesting notes and details in mainly legend texts about legends and various religious iconography and whatnot.
I'll hear all about it in the official debrief. So, and he kind of continues to scan some of the notes, and then afterwards he walks back over.
So as that happened, Pax, seemingly having filled another goblet, steps over to Wayne as you step in with a cigar and kind of hands down a smaller, but still fairly large, cup to you. And as you take it, he kind of nods to the cigar. "Doth thou have another one?"
Unfortunately not. This one's special.
"How special?"
He's going to take the biggest possible drag, and it's very clearly like burning, but not consuming. And he's going to blow just the largest puff.
"Now that I am not bound by the will of my deity, I may have to find myself one of those."
It's served me quite well.
"I can tell. I am Pax Olamus." And he kind of reaches a hand down to you. And Pax is about 8 feet tall, just absolutely swole. He would be the best steed ever. So, as he reaches his hand down to you, I do believe my friend was the one who actually visited you earlier today. Did he happen to tell you where he was going after this? I half anticipated him to be here. Intriguing. I will have to try to catch him on the morrow. He kind of just stands there awkwardly, looking at you.
Is the glass that he handed me full, or is it just a goblet that I'm supposed to go fill?
It is filled to the brim with, like, a stout brandy.
I'm just gonna kind of sniff it. Then kind of, like, peek over in his big goblet and go, can I get some of that?
He looks down into it and says, this is some of the strongest that there is over there. It may not be the best to start the evening with. You are welcome to it. It is the fourth barrel in from the left. However, I will say it is already half gone.
Then I definitely wouldn't want to wait till the end of the night, lest I would get none. And he's just going to take his mug, throw it all back and go, look, I'm empty. I guess I gotta go get more. And head over to the...
He smiles and pats your back on your way through. And as he does, he kind of looks to Sakir. And...
I was going to find him, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he makes eye contact, he kind of... And Sakir, you're kind of like, already on the way.
So, you ended up making it?
Yep.
My bad. I was talking to Pax.
I thought so, but then he didn't say nothing, so I'm like...
I was waiting a second.
Yeah,
Pax is just drinking. Pax kind of wipes his mouth. Yes, I was unanticipated to be able to make this evening. However, plans changed, and the Archmagi decided to take the role I was intending on filling this evening. At least I assume as much, considering he is not here.
Archmagi, who's that?
It is an old dear friend of mine. His name is Stolius Entrati. He is from the same time as I, but that is a much longer conversation and not for this evening. Regardless, I don't know where he is, and likely I will be leaving earlier to try to find him.
I see. Before the end of the evening you will leave, or in the next coming days?
Oh, before the end of the evening, absolutely. We can't let each other go missing for too long.
I see. A lot of things you can't tell me, but thank you for what you have.
There are many things I could tell you, but it is a long, lengthy process, and it is better to give you the initial insight, like this beginning catastrophe down in Sargoth, before everything is fully explained.
I see. Could you do me a favor?
Sure.
I've noticed something consistent about the way that you finish conversations. Could you have a conversation with that fellow over there, and he's gonna point at Linen?
Before the end of the evening, I'm sure. When we sit down for dinner, I will make sure to have a seat beside him.
Oh, sorry. It is specific so that I may follow up with your ending with my own conversation.
And how do I end conversations?
That is my point. I've noticed you have a particular gift for not being able to do so.
That was unkind. And dishonorable.
Yes. Absolutely. It was an attempt to test where we are in this relationship. I see that. You still...
That's
There
fine.
we are.
And he kind of taps you on the chest and just spills like a whole couple ounces onto your chest of his mead. Well, alright, I will certainly have a conversation with him. What did you say?
I look down. I'm not a mage. I can't make it go away on a whim, so I'm just getting that.
Sakir kind of walking. No, Reich is kind of walking up to beside Sakir with his own small pitcher of ale. Just says, "Well, almost a decade of trying to find yourself, and you still haven't changed at all."
No, not much. In fact, here's an old trick. Remember when we used to pull this on some of the less talkative people? Look, so the big guy, you know him, Pax. He's gonna go over talk to Linen. Here in a second, there's gonna just be this long, awkward silence. Watch it happen. Then I'll hop in and and save him from it. It'll be a good introduction for me to Linen, but in the same right, this is gonna be funny. Just watch.
So Pax, as he's just jaunting over Linen, as you're like a whiteboard has been brought out, or like a pin board, and you're kind of like pinning things up on the board and getting it all together, you don't even hear the footsteps as he steps over and just get a strong clap on the back as he almost pushes you into the board and looks down at you. Why, hello, my name is Pax Olamis.
Would Linen know who this is?
He absolutely would. Pax seems to be deep in his cups at this point.
Okay. Sir Pax, it's nice to meet you. I'm Linen Weave. Are you? I didn't.
I'm just playing. I am jesting. I know you, Linen. We've had a few discussions. I'm quite curious. The celestial symbol. Were you able to deduce that?
Not entirely, but I did manage to find a couple leads here and there in the text that were loaned out to me, and I feel that we have at least some idea of what the culprit would be in terms of what sort of creature we might be encountering. It's quite an interesting find, and honestly, this could be a new field that needs undertaking in the.
Well, this whole thing is a new field with the umbral essences.
Well, that's the thing, Sir Pax. This isn't. He'll kind of like mutter his way through. This isn't exactly a new thing. We're finding it in ancient texts and legends, that have been passed down for generations.
Yes, the Wizards of Avalar were very specific on the texts and doctrines that they kept. Sadly, not many of them have survived now, so the true nature of Karsari is still mostly a mystery, other than what we were able to deduce.
Exactly. And so instead of making a brand new field, we're rediscovering an existing one. Don't you see, Sir Pax? This could open up a whole new field of magecraft for the citizens of this realm, and potentially, dare I say, if we figure out what these void scent are, we may be able to, like monster hunters nowadays, we may be able to craft new materials or armor based off of what they may provide. In terms of material science, it's an unexplored field that only the ancients know. It's exciting, to be frank.
Aye, it is.
But by the by, if you're here, does that mean you're also joining us for?
No. I will not be a part of your band. Sadly, I have things of my own to attend to, while the Inexorables is a large part of what I do, me and Stolius both. Sadly... What?
No, go on.
Okay.
I thought you finished.
Sadly, as we have discovered, the umbral essence, as it is noticeable through the magics that we have designed, it becomes more noticeable as it interacts with creatures of this plane and that have the essence of the prime material plane. However, when other creatures of umbral variety spend extensive amounts of time with each other, it seems to even out and almost nullify the ability to track them. So outside of us doing hunts on our own, we would almost be more of a deficit of joining you, as it would make it tougher to track.
Lennon is like furiously adding this to his notes. It's like new information. Interesting. So, are there any other characteristics that that we've discovered that I'm not aware of?
No.
Amongst these creatures, I've never seen an umbral.
As I keep talking, Rikus is gonna lean into Zakir. It's like, I think you misunderestimated the
Yeah, this is going on a lot longer than I thought it would.
the bookworm.
Yes, yes. Apparently, the bookworm. Yes, he can hold conversation when he's passionate about something. That's awesome. I hopefully can have one of those conversations. But he's keeping Pax in. That's very impressive.
Pax says, "Well, I am looking forward to your full report."
Well, of course, I should be done setting up soon. I guess I should talk to the rest of the attendants.
I do believe the Anadeus brothers were interested in having a conversation with you, or at least the youngest.
Now he's about to
of us.
introduce us, so I'm just gonna go
I
up
know.
now. So
I never caught Rikus' name, so I'm like, who's Anadeus?
So Sakir at least
Funny
comes up.
because Rikus has heard of Lennon plenty of times throughout the tower, but then
Yeah.
like, Lennon probably forgot.
Well, he was kind of busy.
from behind Pax, like Sakir walks up and then just kind of appears behind him just because of how broad Pax is, and he says, "Yes, I did want to talk to you actually. I overheard a little bit of it. I hope you don't mind.
Oh,
You were talking about monster hunters, yes?"
yeah. Lennon Weave, nice to meet you. I'm not quite a full-fledged mage of the academy, but I'm doing my best. Yes, monster hunters. Specifically, I'm interested in the monster materials. There's a whole field of material science that can be gleaned from this. I'm quite interested in any medical effects that might be gleaned.
I actually know a little bit on a specific area about that. I'm probably not super helpful in the long run, but I do know a bit about fiends, if this is one of them, an undead creature perhaps.
Oh,
I know a bit about
quite,
blood.
quite useful for blood. You say? I've never.
Yes.
I know there's some ancient texts that reference using blood as some sort of as some materials in various elixirs. But...
Hemocraft.
Oh, interesting.
Frowned upon in lots of societies. I swear to you, I use it well. But this
interested
creature
in
does
trying.
drain. Yes.
He
says interested in trying.
Yeah, I'm interested in trying it. I've never had hemocraft before.
Rikus just walks up and like, cause he's kind of there, but not really participating in the conversation up to this point. But he just like hands him like a concoction vial and says, "Here, try it."
Can I do a quick investigation check or Arcana?
I'm gonna look over it, Rikus.
I would actually say this is a medicine check.
A medicine check.
I'm gonna look over at Rikus and just whisper, "What do you put in yours?"
Well, you do it differently than me.
I'm rolling.
You do it differently.
17.
A 17.
21!
21. Okay, so as you shake the bottle, there are some strange, like, fully physical chunks in there. You can't quite tell if it's, like, just some form of, flake or seasoning or something. As you shake the bottle around, it does almost look like they're, like, fully just fleshed out, like, gleaming rocks of some form. As you kind of shake it around, there's a slight tink on it. This won't kill you. Will you take a sip or just chug?
I'll chug it.
So as you chug it,
So, fun fact, it'll taste horrible, but
and it has no effect.
it has 0 effect.
So as you just begin drinking, it's just, that is terrible. And there's kind of like, Pax offers his drink as like a chaser, and you finish it and chase it down with some mead. And it was just disgusting. You don't feel any different. There's no surge of energy or anything.
Interesting. I do, the blood taste I expected, but what with the rocks in it? What with the? I feel that if you replace them with something like ginseng or parsley or sassafras, it would have a more immediate, noticeable effect. But
Well, you better be careful. Something's gonna happen.
That
to
was
you in
just a
2
couple
minutes.
of rocks that I found.
stone, stones then. Oh, there's a clear urinary tracks for for urinary stones.
It probably causes problems in the urinary tract.
That doesn't sound like it is good for medicine then.
Here, clear the taste from your mouth. He's gonna offer him a little bit of rosemary, and he's gonna wink at Pax as he does so.
I'll take it
Just
and I'll
go
just
on.
like stick it in my mouth. Did you know that rosemary is actually used for a number of herbal teas that help? He'll start mumbling like very random like effects.
He's
That-
Sagir's gonna like turn to Rikus, at, like basically putting you on mute during a call as you just ramble on, and he's like, okay, so he is a very interesting character. There's a lot I want to talk to him about. I saw you come over here earlier and just glare at the notes. That might honestly be the route to take. I don't see a lot of learning coming from talking to this fellow.
You do know why we're here, right?
Yes, I wanted to know more about this beast though before we get into it. I assume you know a little at this point, yeah?
Rikus is about to say something and then kind of catches himself. Says, besides the new information gleaned from Linen here, I'm probably the most notable.
All right. Well, I think it's
Due
good
to
that- that
reasons
that-
we'll get into at this meeting, so.
As he says that, Lycus uses thaumaturgy and kind of enhances his voice as there are many conversations happening, and says, if everyone would like to take a seat at the table, we can begin consuming some flesh of animals, and then I can give a slight debrief.
Flesh of animals. Well put.
So as everyone sits down and, consumes for a little bit, Pax continues, makes sure that he sits next to Linen, and they actually probably continue having a conversation a little bit more in depth about some ancient celestial and how it's written, and they pull out the symbol and begin discussing it together.
That's hilarious.
Yes. Evithar, in particular, is going to sit in between Leopold and Wayne. And as he does, he is going to say, so Wayne, I have a curious question for you.
I'm just going to kind of look at him. Okay.
I am curious upon what exact texts you primarily preach through. I heard that there is a Church of Kelemvor that you primarily follow through.
That is correct. Unfortunately, on my travels here, I had my books misplaced. So I speak from my head, from my heart, and from the words Kelemvor gives directly to me.
Intriguing. If you would so like, we would more than be capable of helping procure some of the ancient Kelemvorian texts for you and your flock.
I do want to comment that Leopold is actually listening very intently in this conversation, and also not particularly trying to hide that fact.
That would be potentially beneficial. I would appreciate that. And I'm sure my congregation would love that as well.
Yes. Remind me, how large is your congregation in its entirety?
I think at our last count, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300.
quite impressive for the last few months of growth that you have seen. I'm sure Martha's cookies have done it well.
Absolutely. They are a staple at all of our large gatherings.
Yes, I will speak with the Azure Sky Library and Ernest over there and see if there's a possibility of us gathering some of the more simple texts, as the congregation is still young. Hopefully by the time you return after a few missions, we will be able to procure enough for at least small groups to have one apiece.
Very well. I appreciate that.
It is our pleasure. Leopold, as he kind of looks over, I'm curious, what exactly brought you from Zadash to Revadan? Across the whole spine. It is quite the trip.
Well, suffice it to say that I didn't quite agree with Zadash. I thought I'd better expand my horizons, and, well, I found Revenant to be quite the enjoyable city.
That is understandable. I often find myself missing my home, but Revadan certainly has some perks that Dirham does not.
Yeah, well, there certainly are some perks of home I miss, but nothing some close contact with letters can't suffice.
That is fair and reasonable. Remind me, your house words. Something about honor, correct?
I'm gonna very quickly look at our DM so I don't accidentally say this correctly. Now I have to actually find it in here.
Live, laugh, love.
Live,
There,
laugh,
live, laugh,
love.
love.
That was the other house. That was the Vince Sims. Or at least they were closer to Live, Laugh, Love.
Alright, so
Exactly.
the words are that there is no price too great for honor.
Yes, Nate?
Who's the individual sitting beside us?
It is Evithar Aparium. He is a half-orc, seemingly spellcaster.
Yeah, and then Evithar was the one who was with me on the stairs, correct?
No. So, following you up the stairs was Ernest. Ernest Falconton.
Ah, I mixed up the E-names.
Yeah, no
In that case, Leopold would like to ask, you said you missed home. What exactly are you from?
I am from the capital of the Avarian Confederacy, that being Dirham. I once was a professor of the Evocation School in the Academy of Dawn in Dirham. However, after time and certain interesting things, the Emerald Enclave felt it good to send me down to the Academy of Dusk, and now I am the High Professor of Divination.
Now, I'm not the foremost expert in magic, but I do have some knowledge, and evocation and divination are quite different schools. Why the change?
Well, divination has, one could say, always been my passion. Evocation is simply where things needed to be filled. And there was no other good candidate at the time, and a few friends of mine were quite insistent that I begin teaching my skills.
And following one's passion is rather important in life. It's what led me here, in a way.
Yes. Hence why I moved across the whole continent to, well, a lesser state in its whole.
I think we might have to agree to disagree on that matter, but on the topic of passion, I can't say I'm at least too familiar with preachers, and well, gods in general. I do visit the church of, let me quickly look up that god's name. I visit the Church of Lu on occasion, but suffice to say I have a few disagreements with how the main body practices the worship. But said it was Keleva, I believe.
That's to you, Wayne.
Sorry, say that again.
You said you were following Keleva, I believe.
Killamvor. God just.
Kelemvor. Like I said, I'm not the most knowledgeable in gods.
Ah, it's alright. I can enlighten you if you'd like.
Something tells me that's a conversation that could last for hours, but I don't quite know if we have that time here.
Ah, another time then. Sure, we'll have plenty of time on the road that I can tell you all there is to know.
Of course. I mean, I'm sure I could probably entertain you with plenty of stories of my hunts.
Fair trade.
You'll have to hear about the time I took down a roper by myself.
Ooh, I do. That sounds intriguing.
Well, to be honest, most of it is in showmanship, which perhaps you could say the same about preaching. I mean, after all, preaching is just telling a story. It just happens to be a particularly important one.
Aye, you've got that right. It's all about the story. Or stories, in many cases.
So what is it you do when you're not preaching, or is it a full-time position?
Well, just this afternoon I was chasing skeevers from old Granny Betty's basement, so, you know, doing the Lord's work.
So you're helping out and a real man of the community, you might say.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we'll get along nicely.
For sure. I look forward to it. Sometimes the heathens are other people, and sometimes the heathens are scheming bastards of skeevers.
Heathens?
Pardon?
Heathens?
The non-believers, those who disdain justice.
So would, suppose, would you consider me a heathen then?
Well, do you believe in justice and bringing justice to those who need it?
Well, of course. It's just, you know, I don't particularly follow Kellenvar, and I want to just properly understand it.
Well, while it's unfortunate that you've chosen another path than Kellenborg just like, I would say that at least you are bringing justice to those who need it. And while you say you do not follow Kellenborg, you at least follow and pursue some of his tenets, even if unknowingly and begrudgingly in some cases. But in any case, those who seek justice are alright in my book.
And, well, man of justice like yourself is plenty alright in my book. I'm just curious about the, gestures with his hand. Rest of our new compatriots. I've had a bit of a chance to talk with Rikus and Sakir, but, that one with the notes, seemed to be quite the busy character, and I thought it best to let him sort out what he was sorting out.
Understandable.
So, I'm sorry,
Curious
Nate,
to see
continue.
what he has to say. He seems to have plenty of papers, and, well, I did not bring my evening clothes, so I'll fast.
Alright, so
Across
as...
the table, I'm so sorry. From across the table, hearing the conversation, I don't want to say anything. I just want to make a roll. For Kellenvor, I have an okay religion check, and if it has specifically to do with Fey Fiends or undead, I'll have advantage.
This does not.
Could
Yeah,
I
it
make a roll
wouldn't.
if I recognize it in any way. Recognize who
Yeah,
Kellenvor
sure,
is?
you can absolutely roll.
You
Natural
you'd
one.
most definitely recognize the name of it because Kellenvor and the Raven Queen are known in the Shadowfell.
Kelemvor
really?
and the Raven Queen are very well known. So you would know the name as, like, not a direct rival by any means, but a god with similar domains as the Raven Queen. As Kelemvor is, like, death and justice, whereas the Raven Queen is the passing of death.
Got it. Okay.
There's a little bit more to Kelemvor and Raven Queen than just that. Those are just absolute base descriptions.
Before and after, you're in the middle. We're like an Oreo.
Right.
And the Raven Queen is the cream.
I
No.
hate that.
So as
You can call her the Raven Queen.
we call her the Raven Queen.
Good God.
Dear
Meanwhile, in
Lord.
the Shadowfell.
Rikus, as the preacher's been going off on his little tangent that I'm sure we can all hear since we're all at the table together, he leans to Sakir and says, "It's like, you still follow the Raven Queen?"
Yes, I'm also aware of other gods besides her, now that I've seen more of the world, but I pay my dues. Do you not?
I have still, more or less devoutly, I should say, followed the Raven Queen's teachings, but I think it's best not to spark a debate with that.
I agree.
So as this agreement entails, Lycus is going to step up, and his own little chalkboard is going to float over pinboard, and he is going to gather everyone's attention real quick, and he's going to say, "Welcome, all. I hope that you have all at least somewhat acquainted yourselves at this point. It is now time for a little bit more of an explanation. You all are here as prospects for an organization that we have decided to call the Inexorables. Unwavering against a new, otherworldly assault. But this one is far more in the shadows than, say, that some of us faced 12 years ago with the Githyanki invasion. These creatures are split up. As Pax may have explained or may have not, Carceri was an interdimensional prison, established by an ancient caste of wizards known as Avalar, their flying city. They established it as an interdimensional place to put creatures they never wanted to see again. When Avalar fell, all access to it fell with it. However, with the recent release of the Titans in the continent of Dan, which has now been nearly entirely destroyed, as I'm sure you have heard, the refugees have found their homes in that of Tim and Werachig, or Riverchig. Because of their release, they were able to hunt down a few primordials that were placed into Carceri. What happened between them we do not know, but we do know that many creatures in each of the 112 blocks of the prison, many of them were able to find chinks in the magical defenses of it and break free. So that means we quite possibly have 112 different uniquely organized and varied sets of monsters spread throughout Volusia and the other continents that we have not yet inhabited. It is likely one of the greatest shadow wars of our time. And you all have been chosen to be warriors in it. I hope you understand the importance and significance of that. For this specific mission, Rikus has already spent some time and knows some of this, but we will recap it in full. 10 days ago in Sargoth, which all of you guys would know is a city just down the spine, and right on the coast of the nation. Maybe like a 2.5-day trip by land, because you'd have to go around some of the spine. In Sargoth, about 10 days ago, there was the beginning of a series of murders. There was one, the first of which, specifically outside a tavern known as the Carrion's Call, in Avalis's Arend, the general purchasing tavern district of the city. There were 4 victims, 2 of whom were city guards, and then a mother and her teenage son. One of the city guards and the other 2 were slain, with one of the city guards seemingly being kidnapped, the largest of the group. Now, as Linen will give us a little brief later, these bodies were completely drained of blood, their lungs pulled out, seemingly consumed by the monster that attacked them, and a celestial brand put on the back of their neck. Along with that, it seems that there was only one attacker, with dagger slashes and pierce marks, arrows, and an extensively dangerous set of claws, seemingly all are at the disposal of this beast. It occurred at night, and the scene was found a few hours after the attack when the tender of the establishment took trash out into the alley. There were 2 sets of unfounded boots, one assumedly being from the attacker and the other from the kidnapped city guardsman. We had gathered a small troop already, and they had already done a mission previously in Ab a few weeks ago, and we sent them down to Sargoth. They were a group, one larger than you are, and Rikis was a part of them. They spent a full day in there, interrogating and trying to find information, when Rikis separated from the group to go and do some research, while the rest of the party went to an inn known as Haltork's Inn, also in the Avalis Arend, where as they were resting, some of whom wanting to stay up a little bit longer, and were seemingly drawn outside. The bartender never found or saw what caused them to leave, but they went out into the alley where no sounds were heard, but an altercation was obviously had. As this occurred, Edmund and Thomas, 2 of whom were above in their rooms at the time, when they went to try and find their compatriots, were also led outside. Now, this, Rikis, from here on, you do not know, as this is information gathered by the constable down in Sargoth. Well, as you know, the bodies that were killed, that being Sarah Strongheart, the cleric of Tyr, Gort, your Goliath friend, and Perry, your gnome, were all found dead outside, as they were the original trio that were led outside. Their bodies were not drained, as it seemed Edmund and Thomas, stepping out, were able to stop the beast from draining the blood and cause a bit of havoc. Edmund specifically, we found his dagger in a bag of trash with some of the blood of the creature, as he assumedly was able to take a chunk out of what appears to be its leg. And as he says that he presents the black dagger, we were able to conscript this from the constable with promise of bringing another group down to solve it. In a little bag beside it, there is the purple jelly-like viscous substance that is this creature's blood, with very, very smooth and short black hairs, almost like that of a black-haired dog or cat. Very smooth and fluffy. Yes.
Is there any immediate thoughts that I get from looking at that?
The blood?
The blood, the hair, what kind of beast this might be? Is
You
this
can
within my jurisdiction at all?
You can attempt to make a roll to see if this would be. Now, I'm not going to give you advantage on this because this is a very vague piece of information to start off on.
Investigation?
Let me peek real quick.
History?
I would say probably a history would be better. Because you're not really investigating, you're just kind of searching your mind.
Cool. Same roll. +6. Please roll fine. Finally, 16. That's the highest roll.
16. There are maybe a few beasts, and you know this is likely fiendish blood, specifically demonic, which you yourself know is difficult to consume as a human. But the black fur throws you off. You could think of a couple different creatures that have like long black hairs throughout their body or in certain areas, but not like this, not like a fur. You do not recognize this in any right.
Alright, then since Rikus is right next to me, I'll lean to him and say, I assume you know this already. That's demonic.
I had gleaned as much while I was not with my previous party.
Yes,
But
sorry.
I believe there's more information.
Yes. That was the first case in which Thomas and Edmund, Edmund being specifically your closest compatriot of the group, Rikus, were taken, as that is our best guess from the bartender or other witness accounts. This scene was found much quicker than the other, hence why we assumed the blood was not being able to be taken. The lungs were taken and consumed from all three that died that night. But a few days after Rikus left, there was another attack. At another inn called the Seventh Sloth, this also being in the same sector of the city. As we can tell, there is likely some form of pattern. There was a trio of children that were seemingly too young to enter the tavern, but got hands on alcohol regardless, in the upper teenage years, that found their way a few blocks from the Seventh Sloth, and were attacked. Jack and Terry Haraway and Ceres Talton. Jack and Terry being twins. Ceres and Jack were killed, drained, eaten lungs, and mark left on their neck, with Terry, the barely older of the twins, taken. This is the predominant amount of information, with this being a younger group that had no capability of defending themselves and were inebriated. They were not able to present any form of fight against this creature, so no new information has truly been gathered from the second attack. Third, technically. Now, I will turn this over to Linen, who we have given a large sum of books and has spent most of the afternoon trying to piece some of this puzzle together. Linen, quickly and curtly, if you could run us through specifically the symbol and what that connects to. The symbol that is found on the back of all their necks.
Of course, of course. So where do I start? Hello, my. No. Hello, as you all know, I'm Linen Weave. I've been I took the afternoon to research these markings. From what I can gather through the documents that were provided to me today, I've deduced that the celestial marking relatively refers to something about defilement in old fiendish or demonic tongue, or no, celestial language. Generally relates to just demonic creatures in general. There was a note or two about an Asmodeus somewhere along the lines. But more prominently, it kind of leads into kind of an odd legend or story that isn't quite known if it's true or not. Everyone here is familiar with the concept of fallen angels, yes?
Yes.
Correct.
So, the story goes, a fallen angel, after his fall, or after their fall, turns into some form of shape-shifting beast, called a Naztharune, which is, historically speaking, the closest relation would be like a demonic cousin of a Rakshasa,
So,
Rakshasa, and it's difficult to tell what this beast, what this would be like, because there's no proof of it existing in recorded history, which makes this all more troublesome. It matches most of the it matches most of the symptom. If the legends are to be believed, most of the symptoms we're seeing in the victim's match most of what we would see from a Naztharune or Rakshasa, except the drained blood, which is what's stumping me at the moment. But assuming that
Oh, keep going.
assuming that this is demonic, and looking at the flesh, I guess it is demonic. Obviously, holy or radiant damage would be most effective for preparing for this sort of defenses. I think that's it.
Yeah, Rikus is about to say something, but my child just handed me a bottle of allergy medicine and wants me to open it, which is not happening. For you,
That's why you gotta.
For YouTube's sake, no, I'm not about to.
No, that's why you
I'm not opening the Benadryl for my child.
A whole bottle of loratadine.
What you need to do is you need to get an empty bottle, fill it with candy, and then
teach them that these
seems
bottles have
responsible.
candy in them.
Yes, teach them that
Hey,
the
where's your-
medicine bottles have candy.
oh no.
Well, Avatar.
Skittles.
Anyways, I'm back. I got him distracted for a moment. Rikus, who, if anyone was paying attention, with both of his fists in his lap, hands in his lap, but they were clenched, very, very tightly, very much so white knuckling. He puts one of his arms on the table, and reaches out and says, well, luckily, you have two experts in the field of blood standing right here. May I see that vial?
Lycus will slide it across the table to you.
I catch it as it's sliding across the table. I kind of set it in between Sakir and I, and using the new information that we've just gathered, and also our knowledge of blood, he does open up the vial, kind of touch his finger into the blood itself, examining it, smelling it, all that different stuff, and I am trying to make an investigation.
I would allow both you and Sakir, now closer, to make your investigation check with advantage, as your blood hunter allows.
Fuck yeah.
You might want to be careful with that. If it's demonic, it might have a curse attached to it if you touch it.
15 for the first one.
I rolled a 23 with advantage.
Cool. Good job.
Alright.
What
So,
was your second one?
an 11.
11. I'm not rolling really well.
So, with a 23, you've never heard of, like, a cousin of a Rakshasa, but pulling to mind, like, if this is a cousin of Rakshasa, there's probably a couple things that it's probably gonna act like if it acts anything like its cousin. One, the Rakshasas, specifically, are highly attracted to very, very colorful things. Now, Sargoth, being a port city, does have a lot of colorful clothing in general, but colorful clothing and some jewelry and stuff is something that is like a big sign of a Rakshasa, because they are very attracted to bright, shiny things. Their greed and ego are like their primary sins as a demon. They are extensively egotistical and will oftentimes shift into multiple different other people at the scene of a crime, either during or after, to try and gauge where people trying to find them are, in terms of like, do they actually have evidence, what's going on. They will oftentimes kill and replace themselves into people. So like, say these kidnapped people, if they were seen walking around again, it would be more than likely it's the Rakshasa. Situations such as that, their pride truly knows no bounds, and they will test every single limit possible, and are very, very good at escaping chases. They have multiple different ways of either going invisible and or teleporting or shifting into a new person as they run into a crowd. That's all the Rakshasa. So that's all like the baseline information, because you're not going to know about a Naztharune. Like, after full afternoons of research with some of the best books available to him, it's a wives' tale is the best information that you guys have been able to gather thus far. But if they're supposedly a cousin of a Rakshasa, you would guess that at least some of how they act is going to be similar.
As I'm continuing my investigation, I am spouting off to the rest of the party everything you just said about the Rakshasa.
That reminds me. So Professor Lycus, one thing about one of the tomes you gave me, it seems that there's a page missing about the Naztharune. It would be for some reason there's no. It seems like there should be like an image of the creature, but it's not there.
Ernest specifically looks out and says, "A page seems to be missing from one of the books of the Azure Sky Library. Is that what you are telling me?"
Yes, sir. If you look here, he'll flip to the page, open the book, and kind of point to what looks like a rip, the remnants of like the ripped page.
I will be taking the books back, if that is all right, Linen, and I will be doing research into this. This is a grave offense to injure one of the books of the Azure Sky Libraries. He seems very flustered by this.
Of course, and just so that he doesn't get suspected of anything, it's like just to clear up any air. Was it not me? You can search my quarters, search my
Linen,
bags.
your respect for books and history as a whole tells me you would never tear from a page of this. And if you ever would, there would be capital punishments, but that is not you. Regardless,
Who checked out books?
I did. Yesterday afternoon.
I see.
Now, I did not necessarily peer through them to see if they were torn.
Well, we have our first two locations.
Yes. This is something for me to research. I suspect... Well, I'll let Lycus get to that. And Lycus will look up and point to Lycus.
Lycus does gesture real quick while they're talking, kind of gesture for Edmund's dagger.
Lycus will slide that over as well.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Rykus will unsheath the dagger of his very close friend, and he will analyze the bloodstains on the dagger itself, comparing it to the vial that was extracted from the crime scene, and he's trying to detect if there's any of Edmund's blood is present on.
Okay, you can
present.
go ahead and roll an investigation check. No advantage on this one, but
No. 15.
15. There does not appear to be. From your best guess, Edmund probably pulled the dagger and tried to get a quick slash off on the creature, and then effectively abandoned it or threw it deeper into the alley in hopes that he would leave some small trail, as he did not anticipate either surviving or being able to beat this creature with just him and Thomas.
So
I let out a small sigh, and the white knuckling that I've been doing seems to release just a little bit.
Leo?
So
I seem less tense.
one comment I want to make on the torn out page situation is that even if a page was torn out, it may not be around. If somebody wanted to remove that information, they wouldn't exactly keep that page, would they?
Ernest says, "No, I certainly assume they would not be. However, since this would have occurred at least 2 days ago, I am now curious if many of our texts that possibly relate to or speak of beasts that we will encounter have been taken out."
Definitely worthy to investigate. Now, quick question. Can I roll a history check to see what I know about Rakshasa?
Sure. You can go ahead and roll a history on that.
Actually, would it be history or investigation?
This would be a history.
Okay, figured I'd ask. $22.
I would say you basically have the same information that Rikus has. Bright colors, egotistical. I'll add the fact that the Rakshasas, which Rikus would have known this as well, but I forgot to mention it, they have a curse that if they strike you with their claws, which their claws are backwards, like they don't grab this way, they grab effectively onto the back of their hand. But their claws do cause a curse that effectively makes you unable to sleep or get rest from sleeping. So it's likely to assume that there is some kind of curse that the Naztharune's claws would also give.
I'm gonna say, there's a key piece of information I know out of character, and I just want to know if I know it in character. Do I know about the Rakshasa's ability to nullify magic?
I would say yeah. I would say both of you guys would know about that. That the Rakshasas do have a nullification on magic. And I'd say there's one interesting note. Rakshasas aren't necessarily the most magically inclined. They have some spellcasting, but it's not that much. However, from the story you heard, the fact that full-on fights occurred just outside the doorway into an alley of multiple taverns, you would guess that there was some kind of magic effery going on there, whether that's the silence spell or a really, really quick kills, which is unlikely. Especially with the group that Thomas was with. It probably lasted at least, a couple rounds of combat.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask Rikus if any of his former compatriots were magically gifted, and then...
So you asked that?
Yes.
Some of them were. You would know.
Yes.
Do we know if there were any, obvious signs of magic at the scene of the fight?
Lycus will speak up. There were no obvious signs of any bolts. As we have been deducing, it is assumed that some form of silence was cast, upon which most spells were no longer operable, allowing this, if it is a Naztharune, allowing this beast to quickly carve a piece of each of the people and victims in any of these scenarios.
So I was curious if they might have the same ability as the Rakshasa that nullify magic is. I don't know the abilities of the rest of our group, but that would prove to be at least somewhat of an issue for me.
Oh, on the topic of combat with the Naztharune, there were a couple annotations and side notes as well. Something about claws causing some sort of incurable disease, quick infections and hives that eventually lead to boils and holes in the skin. Which I'm not familiar with the Rakshasa, but it may relate. Other than that,
Okay, you want up?
There were some quite old notes referring to so more slashing weaponry, such as swords, being used in Naztharune hunts rather than spears or clubs or hammers of any sort.
Avatar speaks up. That is quite curious, as if memory serves me, the Rakshasas particularly are weak to piercing damage, specifically by those piercing weapons wielded by those with good intent in their heart and justice, or good aligned creatures. I'm curious as whether particular belief or alignment would interact with this slashing form of damage upon the Naztharune.
Flipping through my notes because I'm actually reorganizing right now. It seems that there is an annotation about something about alignment of a person, but if it is demonic, it would be safe to assume it's good alignment, but it never goes into detail on if that's the case.
Pax speaks up. If this were indeed a fallen angel, then it could be assumed that it is possibly a more neutral alignment. Or possibly both neutral and good. Likely an evil alignment would still do nothing. As he kind of looks around. I do not believe that will be a problem in this case. Lycus will speak up at that point and say, regardless, I believe it is quite important that we all begin to recognize, and as that happens, the doors fly open, and Harry is standing there at the door, panting, with seemingly a sending stone in hand. And Lycus kind of looks to him and says, yes. And Harry will run up to him and hand him the sending stone and say, there's been another string of murders. And Lycus will take the stone and set it down, and seemingly expanding its audio range, you guys hear a slightly nasally voice on the other side, and Lycus says, yes, Constable, what has occurred? And you are going to hear from the other end. Yes, Lycus, right? There's been another attack at the Black Bahir in the northern section of the Avlis Errand. 3 dead, assumedly 2 taken, another 2 city guards, and some people that they were bringing to the prison in the northern section of the city. It wasn't at the Black Bahir, but that's where the 3 were apprehended, and it had occurred 3-4 blocks away from there in an alley. You promised another team. When will they be here?
What time? What time did this happen? How long ago?
The constable, seemingly stunned by another voice speaking. This happened it was found 20 to 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
This is the earliest in the day there's been an attack.
I was taking care of James. Was there a location in the town mentioned?
Specifically the sector of the city, that being the Avalos Errand. But the tavern that the 2 city guard apprehended 3 people from, and were moving them to like an overnight holding area. The Black Bahir was the tavern, but it's 3 to 4 blocks from there where the attack occurred.
And you said there were 2 people taken?
3 people attacked, 2 people taken. 1 guard and 1 of the civilians were taken. All men of human or halfling variant in this case. The constable is going to say, Lycus, I know that you promised us this. When will they be here? Lycus is going to look up at the rest of you. Well, give us a moment. And he is going to take the stone, and he's going to place it in his pocket and say, I could put you on a ship tonight, and you could be there in the morning. It won't
Not
be
have
the
any
best.
teleportation abilities for this instance.
I mean, we certainly could. He kind of turns over to Evithar, and Evithar says, I mean, it would be simpler if they took the ship. We've all got other things to do. And he says, yes, but I'm sure you can burn a few high-level spell slots for this occasion. Evithar says, I can get you on the outskirts of the city. I don't know exactly where anything is in the city, and neither does Lycus. I haven't visited there before. But I can get you in the general direction, hopefully.
Right
DM,
now.
has Rikus been there?
Rikus, well, yes, you've been to Sargoth. You were down there last week.
Oh yeah, fuck. Sorry. I've been back and forth between wrangling a toddler.
Amnesia. PTSD.
PTSD.
I don't think I've been to Sargoth.
I'll get us where we need to go, if you can at least get us to the outskirts.
Well, alright. Evithar is going to stand and brush off. Pax, seemingly deep in a drunken stupor at this point, is going to, like, mumble something that is completely intelligible and begin walking down the stairs as Evithar kind of brings you over to a circle off to the side and begins casting.
I do grab my bag and my other gear that I had stowed in the near the entrance.
Yes, does anybody have anything in... Evithar was going to say, does anyone have anything in particular that they need to grab before this? Lycus is going... Yes?
You can say whatever you say.
Lycus is going to step forward, and he is going to hand a bag of gold to Rikus, and say,
yeah.
this is for any expenses there and for an early onset of this mission. It should more than be able to suffice food, stay, lodgings, and then the trip back on a boat.
He nods as he's shouldering his bag and his rifle.
Okay. As you... Yes, Sakir?
I don't know what you want me to roll for this, but how holy do you think that Sakir would think Pax is?
How holy?
Yes.
Roll a religion check.
Can do.
The individual that invited me here is not here, correct?
No, he is not. Stolius and Trotty is not there.
60.
Yes, Nate?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna speak up and be like, Julius, I think it was, said we'd be getting some health potions for this adventure.
Lycus is going to turn to Harry and say, if you could make a quick sprint down to the apothecary, I'm sure Sarius could provide at least a few. Try and get a greater and a standard for everyone. See if you can haggle with him. Use whatever you need to. And Harry is going to nod and just, like, full-bore sprint and start running down the stairway. He's got his steps in for the day.
Harry, you should really invest in the Featherfall spell.
Just throw yourself off the building, of course.
Lycus is going to turn and say, that would put him outside the walls of the facility.
It
That
helps
would
him
be
descend
slower.
it helps him descend the floors faster. Right?
Only if there was a central... No, I'm not going to explain this right now.
I will make one quick comment that Leo has pulled out a piece of paper and has begun to just scribble down a few things, folding it up, and then seeing as Harry has gone off, he will hand it to Lycus and ask, I was hoping we'd have a little bit more time before we leave, but time does appear to be of the essence. Would you please deliver this to my house?
Yes, to Yvonne, correct?
Yes, just an explanation of the situation. I
All
don't
right.
want to worry.
And he is going to seemingly cast a spell, and an invisible hand takes it and flies out the window. It shall be there shortly. Hopefully you will be gone no more than a few days before you are able to return.
Hopefully. Although it would have been nice to include on that note. Oh well.
Yes. Well, you will be
Did
compensated.
you write
for that.
hello from Rikus? And sorry
No,
for the
and
mess I
not.
tracked in. Oh, I'll get another chance.
On the battlefield with loved ones at home. Make sure. I rolled a 16.
A 16. He is a celestial.
Right.
And thus probably quite holy. However, there does seem to be a almost like dull sense of the mundane about him, where you would generally believe to sense like a far more holy and celestial being.
So if I were to ask for his hair or him to spit in a glass, for example, that wouldn't be as effective as just getting holy water.
It would probably be similarly effective. You could certainly produce holy water with such as that. However, he is actively walking out of the room at this point. So if you want to interact, he will be... Yeah. Okay. So as... Yes, Thomas?
Oh, wait,
Rikus.
you filled this jar for me?
With what? With your piss?
Yeah, what
Holy
else?
Gerati.
Yeah.
Of course, Thomas
This is my
immediately
sperm
went
bag.
for cum.
No, Rikus grabs the vial and the dagger of the evidence and kind of gestures towards Lycus and nods and like, I'm taking this. He doesn't say anything. He just nods at him like, is this okay? Question mark. But also, I'm taking it either way.
Yeah. Alright, so as you grab some things, you guys wait a few minutes as Avatar seems to prepare himself to cast. He's kind of looking at a map, trying to, like, figure out exactly where he's going to need to teleport to. And as Harry runs back up, he was able to procure 3 greater health potions and 5 standard health potions. So everybody can take 1 standard, and you guys can deliberate amongst yourselves who gets the graders.
Inventory, there we go.
I, knowing the combat efficiency of our party, hands the 3 off to Sakir, Lynn, and Wayne. He looks at Leopold and says, "We'll be at a distance."
Of course.
Alright, so Wayne, so Nate, Jade, and Zach, you guys can add both a standard health potion and a greater health potion to your character
What is
sheets.
is it just potion of healing? Is that what?
Yes, it
Yes.
would just be a potion of healing.
Add to bag add, and then
Ah, crap. Well,
greater? No, what is it called?
The
Potion
greater...
of healing?
Yeah.
Give me a greater one? I don't remember.
Yes, Jade, he did.
Got it.
Oh, potion. I see. What's
yes.
happening.
Sakir, Lynn, Lennon, and Wayne will get the graders.
Got it.
They have a higher chance of being within swiping range.
I'm glad that I packed for travel already. As I start pulling out a quarter staff out of my like research bag. I'm glad I'm always packed for travel.
Alright, well, as everyone is gathering, Rikus, you look into the bag of gold and see that there is 500 gold pieces in the bag.
Augers.
Way far more than enough to do your stay and come back and still give everyone a little bit of a bonus. So as you guys all stand in a circle around Avatar, he kind of motions for everyone to clamp hands together, and he begins casting. Now, he does not know where he is going exactly, but he has a general idea. And we are going to look up the specific rules on teleport.
As we're going.
So, he...
Before going in this circle, Sakir definitely, knowing that he doesn't want to do this, this is a noble cause. Thank you.
Alright, so he has casually seen this place. So we'll see how this goes.
I'm going to put my hand on his shoulder as he's beginning to cast and go, "Worry not, friend. Kellenvor will guide us."
Yes, bliss.
Can,
Are you casting anything, or
Okay.
you just?
yeah, can I cast a guidance on this man?
Sure, you can guide him. Give him an extra D4 on the
I'm-
D100 roll.
I'm like 90% sure the
I hit him with a guidance.
did the preacher just cast bless?
The end of my cigar is going to glow just slightly more brightly. And yeah, I'm going to bless him. I'm going to bless myself, and then I guess I'll bless Rikus as the de facto leader.
Okay, will do. So I am going to roll this D100, or 2D10s, should I say? And that is a 100. I don't think it's double zeros on it's triple zeros total, which is 100.
That means
Holy
no,
shit.
This means 0.
So
Comsec rules.
as you guys teleport, you guys teleport to the front door of the Black Bahir. And as you guys settle in and are all looking wild, there is like a crowd that is actively leaving that you just teleport into the middle of. And everybody freaks out. Starts running, quickly are calmed down by you guys and Evithar. And Evithar kind of turns and says, "I wish you luck on your investigation." And he is going to bend space around him and teleport away.
Cool.
So as you guys settle in, you know that it was about 3 or 4 blocks north of your current location. So there,
I start walking them towards where the constable said he was at.
there seem to be a couple a constable and a cobalt guard inside the tavern, seemingly taking records and notes from people of who was last seen and all that. So you guys start making your way north, and it is fairly easy to find the place. A small crowd has been attracted, and you guys kind of part through, and you notice a half-elven man who is wearing like a long leather duster / like trench coat of a sort with the gray cap of a constable of the city. And as you guys step over, he's gonna kind of look over questioningly and kind of step over and say, were you sent by Lycus?
Yes.
That was fast.
So
We made
They're
it.
wizards.
rather fast.
That,
They're wizards. What do you expect?
that is an apt response. I was expecting morning. I expected a boat. However, it is not. It is much appreciated that you were able to make it on time. I am the constable, Ken Zeveram. Yes.
Do you know much about what you're facing?
I know about as much as one can. People are dying, and in a fantastical way that I have never seen before. It is quite gruesome, but follow
Fantastic, less accurate.
me.
What evidence have you gathered?
From this scene, very little. It happened 35 minutes ago. We are just trying to clear it and make sure there was no tampering. There was a man found at the scene, and he claims to have not been the one who have done it, and I would tend to believe him, but we shall see. Regardless, it's around this
Description?
corner.
Hold it.
Yes. Please describe this man.
He is a Goliath. He
Well,
goes by the
those
name
are
of
easy to
Polt.
spot.
Did you
Yes.
get his name?
Polt. Polt. Singular syllable, just like most Goliaths in this region.
Well, Constable,
Um,
I would recommend that since we are facing a possible fiend, that if you can get the religious groups in the city to arm the common folk with holy water, religious symbols, and the like, it might not only cover people but slow this demon's progress.
Good sir, while that would be an interesting case, there are 80,000 souls in this city. It would take weeks to organize such a
Yes.
situation.
As they're talking, I tap Rikus on the shoulder. I whisper, "Should we
tell him that it might be a shapeshifter?
We can discuss any information you may be bringing into this investigation at a later date. Right now,
Yeah,
I'm really
Maricus
interested
is
in
just kind of
seeing the
shaking his
scene.
head no. It's like, not right now.
Back off.
Constable,
Yes.
please allow us a moment to investigate the crime scene ourselves.
Yes, I was going to lead you to that before you berated me with half a dozen questions. It is right this way. And he is going to lead you kind of like under the tape and around the corner. And it's not in the central alleyway that's right off the street. It's kind of like off to the side. And it is gruesome. This one is far bloodier than the other ones were. It seems like either the bloodletting or draining on one of the bodies went wrong. And its entire abdomen is just opened, and there is a Picasso painting on the walls of the alley. It is almost as if something sucked all of the blood straight from like the stomach or the belly button of this creature, and then whatever was attempting to hold this blood imploded and just sprayed all across the alleyway.
Lynn will vomit into the gutter.
Yeah,
He will do the opposite. If there's a corpse on the ground that still has some fresh blood in it, he's going to take like a jar and start siphoning some of it into a
okay.
jar.
So there are three dead, one city guard and 2 citizens who are all 3 are human or human variants of half such. One of them is completely drained, and it's terrible to say, but think like an old man's testicle, how it's shriveled up and it's just disgusting. Wrinkles all over with seemingly nothing left inside of value or worth.
Say raisin, Zach. I can think of like a half dozen better descriptions. You acted like you had to say that.
Look, I had to, okay? I had to. And it is an older gentleman, but the clothes around his body, they have cut open his shirt to fully expose the severity of this bloodletting. It is not just you can see his ribs. It is as though his skin is just a slightly pinker shade of paper, as it is strewn loosely across his body, as though there is nothing worth. He seemed to have been completely drained of blood, whereas the second seemingly had an issue, and the third is still pumped full of blood like a normal human being. And the second, its body is completely opened up, so its lungs are taken of all 3. And you guys notice the incisions, for those of you who haven't seen it before, that being everyone but Rikus, are extensively surgical, incredibly precise, almost as if a creature took one thin slice across their chest and was able to, without expanding the cut very much, reach in and grab both lungs and pull them out through this very thin hole cut by a blade, because their chest is unbroken.
Rikus is thoroughly investigating each of the bodies, the blood, and everything else, but also keenly trying to see if there's any foreign bodily fluids, such as the blood or anything from the
creature.
Special effects of the claws that were mentioned, or just the creature in general, drool, anything like. Comparing it to the vial that he has on
top.
So,
yeah, I would also like to mention that Leopold is supporting the barfing Lynn.
Okay.
I guess I'll do that. I also wanted to add on, like, out of the corner of my eye, as I see this, I kind of also want to try to do a quick glance medicine check on the wounds to see if it matches any of the descriptors.
Okay,
from
so
research.
we're gonna have Lennon doing a medicine check. Everyone else can either also roll medicine, investigation, or perception. Just let me know which one you're rolling, because that will provide different information dependent upon what you roll.
Am I rolling my investigation at advantage
Um,
due to hunting fiends?
I do not believe this is researching or of that sort. It is investigating a crime scene
It's
that a fiend
To
did.
recall information about fake fiends around.
You are not attempting to recall information right now, so no.
Motherfucker. It's
Hey.
okay.
25 perception.
Would you like
Nat 20.
disadvantage instead?
I know I don't need any of that. I rolled 24.
Okay. So
20.
Investigation.
okay, so nat 20 medicine. We had a 25
I rolled
perception
garbage.
from Wayne, another garbage roll from Sakir. Investigation.
Sakir's
Actually,
I think I hit him in the head a little too hard.
pretty.
No, I'm invested. I'm getting some blood from a corpse right now.
Yeah, he went
Big
to the corpse that exploded and like still while it's slowly coagulating. This was only like maybe an hour ago when the actual crime occurred. 35 when it was found, so it's still pretty moist. So you're getting some blood in there, maybe got an organ or two as you close the jar, and you are getting some weird looks from the Cobalt Guard that are standing around. But they were told you were specialists, so they're trusting the process. We are going to start with the top with the perception check from Wayne. Wayne, I don't think you have ever seen a more disturbing and beautiful painting of blood on the walls than you are now. As organs and shards of bone, it truly does look like there was an immense amount of pressure on the stomach of this creature, and it just went poof, and just exploded everywhere. In terms
Is it
of
that a outline of a creature is in the blood?
no,
So, like, if the blood exploded outward from it, is there anywhere there isn't blood making, like, an outline?
no, which is curious. It does seem like almost a perfect splatter across the walls. Now, there is, like, an open area to the alley where it's kind of like, well, it's pretty hard to tell. Maybe he was standing in between the victim and the end of the alley to where the blood wouldn't have reached a wall. But you do not actively see any, like, outline or area where it's obvious there was something in between that and the ground. Peering around the rest of it, you notice, what was I gonna say? Specifically, the three people here were all middle-aged to older men. Even the city guard, just as a quick look, was probably in his 50s as a human. Well past his prime, and you notice, just on the quickest glance, that his leather bracers and the shield that was connected to it have just been completely torn to shreds. This creature just came in and overwhelmed them in a very short period of time. Going to the medicine check, what exactly are you trying to deduce with this check?
Specifically, I wanted to kind of see if the wounds and the, like, specifically you said surgical incisions. I kind of wanted to check if any of those would accurately, like, match what I've been seeing or what I saw in my notes, and just kind of glean if there's any extra information from the wounds now that I see them.
Okay.
In
Well,
real life.
the two bodies that are drained of blood, in this case, one that exploded and one that was drained, you go to the third body, and specifically trying to find claw marks. And you are able to find a claw mark, like, right beside his kidney on the back left, and it seems like it was a pretty deep claw mark. It seems like this was probably the first guy to get attacked, as the claws, rather than like a slash, are dug in, and like there's a chunk of flesh that have been ripped out. And as you're peering into it, you take your medical tools, and you're kind of peering around, and you ask one of the Cobalt Guard to bring a lantern over, and he holds it closer, and you notice that there's already some rot starting to grow. It seems like it is specifically festering from the blood, which would lead you to believe that the drained bodies that were attacked by the claws did not show any rot or boils due to the fact that they did not have blood. But since this body does have blood, it is already starting to show the early signs of some kind of infestation in that wound.
So, Secure, you may want to be careful with that blood. It might be cursed.
His blood's already cursed.
No, I mean, well, you're the expert, I guess.
Okay. So going from that to the investigation checks, with a 21 and 24 from Leopold and Rikus, what exactly are you guys looking into?
As I had stated before, I am comparing what I gleaned from the vial of blood and guts and things like that, and what was found on the dagger, to various bodily fluids, or signs of anything else from the creature itself, and comparing them, that it's one that it's the same creature, and then two, gathering that, how did I describe it before? Either way, I'm looking for anything that matches the creature itself, like any form of bodily fluid, as well as stuff like that, I guess.
Okay.
And obviously anything else that I come across
And Leo?
while I'm investigating.
I would like to try to piece together, I guess, sort of the situation, how it happened, see if I can figure out anything on that front, as well as seeing if I can put together, like, if there's anything, I guess, connecting the victims beyond the fact that you said that they were all, like, older men that you mentioned.
Okay. So as we're peering around, I'm just going to go through some information that kind of hits both of your points. So as you're peering over, Leopold, noticing the bodies, one of them is like a thirdling, like human and halfling. And as you're peering, he is also older. And you kind of ask the constable, and he confirms both of the other two people were also older. Seemingly middle to upper aged men. One of them, the one who was kidnapped, is like on the border of retirement. Like, he is early 60s, and has served in the Cobalt Guard here for a long time. But as you're looking into these bodies, it certainly seems like this was a very, very precise attack. From the first strike, which appears to be right on the back of someone's neck, you would guess that this group was somehow lured into this alley, as this is not a necessary route. They did not have to come through this alley to get where they were going. That something lured them in here, whether it be some kind of illusion. You look around and you can't find anything that would particularly bring them in here. But then they were attacked from the rooftop, upon which the one who is drained of blood seemingly died immediately. There is only one wound, and it is on the back of his neck. In fact, the mark that is placed on him is almost only half there, because some of that chunk of skin has been torn away. Moving to some other parts, as we are kind of looking around trying to find any source of this creature being here, Rikus, you kind of begin leading yourself a little bit farther away, farther down the alley, and as you do, you're getting close to like the onlookers, and there's a couple like bins of trash off to the side, and as you kind of peek into them and peek around, as you open one of them, there is probably a couple cups worth of what appears to be this like red, incredibly runny, it almost looks like vomit. This is not human. This is not human liquids by any means. And as you kind of look into it, there appears to be a couple of those black fuzzy hairs.
Well, I immediately collect some samples of that, put it into its own vial. And I take a few more glances around the alley, looking around as I start to walk back towards the group with what I found. But well, yeah, I kind of rush back because obviously, attack something that looks like bile and hairs.
Yeah.
The direction in which the creature would have went is pointing at least in that direction for now.
Yeah, which is east.
So,
just to clarify, that is east of your current direction.
Okay. So I promptly make it back to the party to share my findings. And as he's rushing back, he kind of kind of swears under his breath. He's like, "Fuck. Where's berries when I need them?" As in
Berries?
Berries. The DM would get the joke. It's not a joke, but the DM understands.
Yeah. So
What type of berry?
what type of berries? So as you guys are continuing around, I'm trying to think if there's any other pieces of info at this scene. I'm gonna say with as high investigation checks as you guys rolled, I'll give this to you.
Are there tracks?
No, there are not tracks. Let me get my shit off. So as you guys are peering around, you're looking at the different just chunks of human skin and flesh and organs that are placed around from this just explosion from this man's stomach. And as you're looking around, you find what you would guess to be the area of skin that is right around the belly button. And as you peer into it, there seem to be a series of pinpoint accurate incisions around it, almost as if something was placed around the belly button of a creature, like some kind of machine of some form. And I would say that Leopold is the one to have found that, as he stayed closer to the scene. And so as you kind of pull out this flesh, and it's only half of the stomach of this person, it's very strange. You haven't seen anything like this before.
I will bring the stomach flesh to the attention of the two more knowledgeable people about blood in this party, and ask them what they think of it, and pointing out the mark specifically.
I would have just returned at this point.
Yeah. Maybe it's some sort of proboscis, I think might be the word as I'm looking for.
Alright. What do I roll for this? Do I?
What do you want to roll for this? You have to decide what type of information you want from this.
That is true. Because you said that this was something attached to him, right?
It is his stomach, or the skin of his stomach, that seemingly has incisions inciting the idea that possibly something was attached to his stomach.
I'm gonna do Arcana.
Arcana.
I want to see
Okay.
if there's a magical thing that this was.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your Arcana.
Rikus will investigate it, and he
I
says,
haven't rolled
"Well, I'm no phlebotomist, but it at least looks like a tool."
12. Arcana.
And he yells to Linen. It's like, "Bookworm, come over here."
Yeah? trots up.
This tool might be medicinal in nature. Look at the incision marks, and I'll continue investigating alongside.
So you can go ahead and roll a medicine.
Got it.
I will roll a medicine. I will roll a medicine.
No, Linen will roll the
Okay.
medicine. You can roll your investigation.
Okay.
I rolled a 15.
Well, we get. Oh. Let's
Oh
go.
damn! Another nat 20
yeah.
for medicine. Damn.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Are you
to
kidding me?
I can't wait
I
to
haven't
crumple.
rolled above a 10.
I can't wait to
Legitimately,
crumple
I'm
in the
giving
first
Jeff-
Can't miss.
Yo, he literally,
Can't miss.
literally
Also,
cannot
I think
miss.
Zach might have stolen all of your luck.
Lord nerd.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
think other Zach stole all of the luck.
Yeah.
So Jade or Sakir, Rikus, neither of you really get any new pieces of information. It's like, oh, it's a part of a stomach. It's part of the flesh of the stomach. I'd say with the investigation of 15, you notice that the incisions of how the needles are go far deeper than the chunk of flesh that you have, and there's probably like an inch and a half to 2 inches. So the needles that came from whatever this was probably went at least 4 inches deep. So as we're looking at that, Mr. Medicine Man, researcher extraordinaire, looking at this piece of flesh, you look at it and you haven't seen a device that uses this exact function before, but you have seen devices that use a similar function, where you effectively stick a needle in there and you draw blood out at an extensive rate. You would assume that this is some advanced form of that machine, to where effectively it's probably magically enhanced in some regard to attract all the blood to the center of the body, and then just in one quick motion effectively suck it all into some kind of tube, upon which it is now extraditing from the body.
If it's magically enhanced, would I know of any magics in the past that would prove a similar function or provide a similar function?
I mean, there's certain blood magics that might be able to do something, but blood magic as like a manipulation of the blood is very, very rare and very hard to study into. That's far beyond what even Hemocraft does. That's just Hemocraft is.
Let's
merely
ask the
a manipulation.
Arcanist if he can see anything. Rikus, after hearing the information from Linen, which I'm assuming he stuttered his way through.
Yes.
He calls for Wayne to come over and fills him in that it's something magical, and see if he has any knowledge of Arcana on that.
I don't think I'm your Arcana guy. Well, I take that back. I actually might be your Arcana guy. We'll see.
Linen's also an Arcana guy.
Yeah. should I also roll for this?
You guys can roll an Arcana, yeah, both of you.
Okay.
Jesus, Wayne.
I already rolled Arcana.
Show
I
me.
could have advantage if this is to do with
They didn't show me.
fiends, but
It's a 24.
Would you say it's recalling information?
Yeah.
I got a
So-
24.
I'll roll as well.
I don't know. Would you say it's recalling information? On Arcana?
Okay, so a 24 and a 25, both very, very good rolls. You guys would guess that this is some kind of reverse engineered form of like a necromantic magic, similar to that of like gentle repose, or something to like preserve a body after death. You would assume it's like the flip case of it, where it is actively trying to enhance the decomposition to bring the blood into one point, as oftentimes it coagulates and effectively stays. You would assume that this is some kind of magic to kickstart the system and then cause a wound in the center to which blood is attracted to try and fill the vacancy, upon which it is all sucked up into whatever device this is.
Rikus glances at the other person who already has their blood drained. Does he see the same marks around the stomach?
Around the stomach, the skin is so paper thin you cannot tell.
Fuck.
If this creature has a unique appendage, if we ever get into combat with it, we really should avoid that.
getting hit by this.
You're right. We should avoid probably everything to do with this creature. Anyways, in that direction. And he points and he gives his quick brief on what he found.
The constable steps over and says, it went to the east.
Yes, sir.
Well, that is towards the Siren's Quay, the riverside port. That is only but a quarter mile from here is where the river is.
You're right, the sirens are a good quay.
That is not at all what it means, good sir.
Quick.
Rikus tightens the slings of his backpack and says, "Well, double time now." And
Rikus, wait.
grabs Linen as he's trying to talk to me, but
The constable is going to say as you guys begin walking, would you not like to interview some of the possible witnesses before you take off?
Rikus immediately pauses and says, "Why didn't you lead with that?"
I did. I said we had a Goliath under our apprehension.
Also, if this creature is a... well, I know you didn't want to bring it up, but if this creature is a shapeshifter, then our odds of finding it once it's already gone for any sort of length of time really is practically zero. Could have shapeshifted 5 times by now, we'd never know.
So I would say the witnesses might be the most suspect.
Yes, and I would at this point turn to the constable. Now, I don't know if at all you have this sort of power, but have you considered potentially shutting down what I have the name of the tavern district?
The Avalis errand.
Yeah, Avalis errand. Because, well, it would likely make our job harder to try to catch that creature. Evidently, it only seems to kill around the taverns. Perhaps it's a crime of opportunity, perhaps there is some other reason. But if the creature does continue to kill around here, it would make sense for public safety to go ahead and close it all down. Now, whether you can get that politically is another question.
We have been considering such a direct approach. That is not around my power. I have sent that up the chain. However, shutting down the primary business and entertainment district of a city of 80,000 people is quite a difficult affair. There would be dozens of taverns and inns that would effectively have to shut down. It does seem that whatever this creature is, it is able to stalk and recognize when prey leaves that are extensively inebriated.
Yes, although there is one particular thing that I noticed that stood out to me as curious. On the back of the neck of one of the victims this time, there was a mark, and the mark was partially ruined by the fact that it was very likely stabbed in the back of the neck, of course, which killed it. The thing I find curious is that that would mean that the mark would have already been there by the time the victim was killed. I highly doubt that the Naztharune, which is what we believe the creature was called, would put the mark on the creature only to then instantly murder them. I consider it probably far more likely that the marks were put on the bodies of the creature in preparation.
It is quite possible, and it is a theory of mine in particular that the Naztharune chooses its victims before they actually leave the tavern, and merely is good at deciding creatures that will likely be inebriated, or perhaps the mark helps along that path. This trio was extensively inebriated to the point where the Cobalt Guard were called on them. However, these two, as much as they have worked in this realm for a long time, were not necessarily known for their professionalism during the evenings, often visiting places that they shouldn't. So it is likely that they were also inebriated. Yes, Zach?
Yeah, just I had 2 questions when the constable's done.
He's done. I'm
Oh, okay.
with that current spiel.
Yeah, two questions. First off,
Has anyone checked the roof yet? The rooftops. There seems to be a lot of blood with no mark or with no portrait of any sort of creature. So where would, if it's splattered omnidirectionally, where would the creature have to be then?
That is
Has
a
anyone
good
checked
thought.
above us?
We could certainly try to get up there. I mean, he kind of looks up. It's about like an 18-foot roof. He's like, outside of climbing the side of the establishment, it would be difficult to get up there right now. I could have another constable try to bring a ladder.
DM, so 10 days ago was the first attack,
Yes.
and then 7 days ago, roughly, was the
Second.
attack on my team.
Yes.
And then there was another attack
That was 2 days after that.
2 days after that. And then there's an attack now.
Yes.
There's roughly, in 10 days, there were 4 attacks.
Yes.
So that's roughly between 2 to 3 days, depending on the number of victims.
Mm-hmm.
So it is able to stockpile. And he's, at this point, Rikus is verbally describing the distance between the attacks. It's like, it seems he is able to stockpile for at least this many number of days. Given the fact that we have deduced that whatever mechanism he uses to extract the blood exploded, I believe that would be significantly shortened. If we were to wait for him to make another appearance, it would either be tomorrow night or the night directly after. But my bets are on tomorrow night.
How many victims were drained in the previous incidents? Because if there were 2 victims or even 3 victims drained in the previous incidents, then that could likely mean that with only 1, it would be even shorter.
So the first incident had 3 victims drained. The second, being the attack on the party, had no one. No one was drained. 2 people were taken. The third incident had 2 victims drained and 1 was kidnapped. And this last one had 1 victim drained and then 2 seemingly not.
But there were kidnappings on this incident, yeah?
There was 2. So there has been a total of 1 during the first, 2 during the second. There was another one during the third strike. So there have been a total of 6 kidnappings at this point, and about twice as many deaths. Not quite.
I'm curious about the kidnappings. Perhaps the creature can only have a certain amount of blood at a time, so it's keeping the bodies around to keep the blood fresh, I suppose.
Would be difficult to
A lot of blood.
be difficult to tell. It'd be difficult to tell though, with its special appendage being able to perform some sort of advanced decomposition to pull out the
True.
blood.
True.
The constable says, was it a... Do you believe it was an appendage or a device?
It could be anything. We do, if this is an unknown creature, it could be almost anything really. I just said appendage.
If it was an appendage, the creature would be wounded, given the display on the wall.
That is my
And-
belief as well.
No tracks are found.
And speaking of which, I believe you wanted to get on the roof, Linen?
Yes, I could probably try to get up there. Let me just.
Hold on. Quick question, DM. Would the spell Vortex Warp allow me to teleport on the roof?
Though you cannot vortex warp yourself?
Vortex Warp Linen.
Yeah, you'd be able to get him up there.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if that was technically a space I could see.
You can get him to the ledge. He's dexterous
yeah,
boy. He
okay.
can get
Yeah,
up
if you
there.
can get me high enough in the air, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Alright, in that case, what you see as Leopold says that he can do this.
Do I see enough? Do I see enough things that I could Assassin's Creed my way onto the side of the building? Or onto the roof of the building?
You could try. But as a teleportation puts Lennon up there long before you get up there, he'll be able to effectively investigate it before you get there.
So-
Yeah, but
so
I
no.
have a scope. Anyways,
Well, when I'm up there, I'll attach my quarterstaff, activate it to like put it in place, and I'll drop a rope down for him.
Okay.
Anyway, so to
Oh,
explain how
sick.
you actually get teleported up there, Leopold has this bag of holding on his side. He reaches in and he pulls out a rather large gun that's white, and it has like kind of a shell casing around his. Well, actually, I won't make the full port gun reference.
It's just a
but-
portal gun. Yeah.
Yes. You see him line up a spot on the floor, and he shoots the floor, but no bullets come out. As instead, a honestly rather unstable looking one half of a it's empty for now portal appears, and then he looks up the ledge, shoots again, and you can see that now there's the portal. You better get through that quick. It closes rather fast.
Is
It
that
can only accept one person,
Is that safe? I fall in.
of course.
So as you fall in, you kind
As long
of
as you go fast.
clumsily fall onto the roof and catch yourself.
And then of course closes behind you.
And it closes behind you. Would you like to roll an investigation check, Lennon?
Yes. I'll also
he drops the
He drops the rope real
attached
quick.
to his
Yeah.
wall.
drop down.
Okay, well, I quickly climb up the rope as well,
Investigation.
and then I will perceive the surrounding roofs for
Wayne.
a little ways.
Nate, what were you saying?
Just say while they're doing the whole climbing and investigating and all that, I'm gonna go over and start just kind of moving throughout the crowd, using my passive perception to see if I can notice anyone looking scared or hurt
Okay.
as I kind of weave in and out of them.
What is your passive?
21.
21.
both perception
We'll
and
get to you here in a second. Investigation
Yep.
checks.
6.
Zach, with me, once I get up to the rooftop, I am finding the higher point, and if I need to climb between a couple of buildings to find a higher point,
Okay.
and I'm scanning all of the rooftops with my scope, to see if there's any movement along the roof. Would you want perception for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck yeah. 23.
Okay. You do not see any movement along the roofs. However, as Lennon is kind of stumbling around, seemingly trying to investigate the roof, as you peer down, you do notice that there's like a tuft of kind of like this grayish black fur sitting at a small flattened point by Lennon, and he seems to have completely looked over it with his 6 in investigation. But as you kind of pointed out to it, Lennon, you kind of look closer in, and there certainly does appear to be some of the fur of this creature, probably sat on this pedestal. What you'll notice is, you also notice black hair, like just standard black hair. Like this isn't the fur of a creature. This would be like the hair of a human. You don't know if he was transformed into another form while up here or what exactly occurred, but there is human hair up here as well.
I'll wait for Thomas to get back on this, cause
Sorry. Sorry, I'm doing something entertaining to distract my child for a minute. What was that final statement?
That there is human hair up there as well.
Okay. Nothing unnatural about the human hair?
No.
Well, that's new.
I'm sorry, Nate, what the fuck did you post in the chat with the little suction thing on the belly button? That's so disgusting.
It's the belly button suction machine they're using.
That is very disturbing.
They turned them into an Audi. No.
Okay. So,
can't I step on- oh, I
would
can't
you
step
say
on-
you guys climb back down from the roof?
Yes, I will collect those samples, add it to my list, add it to my other string of samples. Obviously, keeping them separate. I'm a
Yeah.
professional.
Uh,
But I'll collect the samples and I'll climb back down.
Okay, so as you guys all climb back down, the constable is kind of standing there and says, "Was your investigation of the crime scene fulfilling?"
He displays the two vials, two very small vials, one of another tuft of the same hair that we've seen already, and one of a regular, you said human?
Yes.
Regular black human hair. He says, well, there seems to be a new piece of evidence.
Zach,
Human
is
hair.
the constable wearing gloves?
Is the constable is wearing gloves? Yes.
Okay, so there's like no piece of skin between the edge of his glove and the hem of his shirt.
There is not. You cannot see any skin of his outside of the neck and above.
Okay.
1 sec, I'll be back.
Well, then I will go up to the constable. I've had some time being at the bottom, so I'll let you know what I'm doing. I'm going to go up to him very serious and say, there is one thing that you should be sure of. I'm going to put my hand on his shoulder. I want to make sure that my thumb makes contact with his skin. I have put holy water on my thumb. Is there any reaction when I do this?
He seems to notice the wetness, but there is no visceral reaction as he kind of awkwardly looks at the hand and says,
Sorry. I apologize. This could be anyone. All these witnesses
Yes.
that you've spoken of are prime suspects in this case. As we have found black human hairs on the roof, especially if you know someone who was a witness who had black hair, would very much like to meet them. The Goliath, did he have black hair?
the Goliath is bald.
Yes, they tend to be that. Sorry, Sakir wouldn't say that because he would know.
Well, they have hair. They can have hair. It is just often a cultural thing that they prefer to appear bald, as they do not have the capability of growing a beard
I
naturally.
did
Okay.
discern that it was a human hair.
Yeah, it was a human hair.
Were there any human witnesses?
Yes, there is both the bartender at the Black Bahir that was active, a man named Kent Jakar, and then a barmaid named Kerieth Shadeheart. Both of them, Shadeheart is a dwarf, and Jakar is a half-orc.
Okay, so maybe they half orc because of the human blood. It was a human hair, yes, Rikus?
Yes, brother.
And all three of our witnesses of a sort claimed to have seen something intriguing. Polk, of course, being the one who actually found the scene of the crime, or was the first here.
Well, I guess it's time to interrogate.
We
I'm
have...
gonna go ahead and start handing out these vials of holy water to all you guys. While you're on the roof, I'm assuming that there's enough time for this, like along with preparing some on my thumb. I had a pouch of it. I'm gonna say I divvied it completely up between all four of you guys.
I kind of wave you off and open my pouch and hold up my own vial of holy water that I grabbed off of my horse on the way here, well, on the way to the dinner,
Sweet, more for me.
because I knew I was hunting a fiend
Yeah.
at that point. So I
Also,
I
I would
that was one of the things I
assume
grabbed.
that we were going to leave the interrogation for next session.
Yes, we are. So the Black Bahir has been closed down, and a series of witnesses their testimonies are being taken, and three of them are going to be set aside for you. That being Polk, Kent Jakar, and Keriath Shadeheart. So barmaid, bartender, and Goliath who found the bodies. And you guys can decide It's probably not best for all 5 of you to interrogate everyone, so probably splitting into 1s and 2s, and we can take interrogations 1, 2, 3 with different people in different scenes. I feel like that would be the simplest and smartest situation to approach. So you guys can decide who wants to go where in this regard, and we
all have a vial of holy water.
And you all have a vial of holy water and a very confusing investigation ahead of you. So I'm going to go ahead and shut things down. I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, this was very fun.